So everyone, thank you for joining. I'm Kyle. A lot of you have probably seen me before. First thing I want to tell you today, I do have a special guest. He is part of the Fundamentals of Finance channel as well. His name is Ethan. On this call, his name is Ethan. He is actually in the investment industry at this time. He is a CFA charter holder and is involved in my channel as well. So his identity, you won't see his face today, but you will hear him on audio. And then also another special guest, we have Pimpy, who has done some great videos breaking down my videos. I really appreciate that, Pimpy. And honestly, what I like most about Pimpy is that he's open-minded, and he really kind of has that what I would call a desire to learn. He's not just here to throw mud and stuff. He's okay with saying when he's wrong, and yeah, I really just get the vibe from him that he wants to learn, and he also wants to help his viewers learn along the way, which I can really appreciate and admire. So, Pimpy, thanks for joining the live as well.
I appreciate you having me here. I appreciate the kind words too. It's yeah, when you talk like I do or like we do in the dinar community, it's not always embraced.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So let's just jump into it. Pimpy, you might have some questions personally, or just on your own list to ask us, and also we can also go to your channel. I know you made this announcement yesterday, and there's a list of questions there from people.
Yeah, there might be questions in that video if you want to just eyeball them. I just want to say that I appreciate you coming on and highlighting specific people in our community that don't, in my opinion, seem to have other people's best interests at hand. They have a habit of taking, like the smallest bit of good news that comes across and turn it into this full-fledged, oh, the RV is going to happen tomorrow. The RV is going to happen tomorrow. Now, I've been dealing with this for years, and I tell these guys, it's not just like somebody can pull a wand out their butt and sprinkle unicorn pixie dust on you. It doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? There's other steps involved. So I think the hard part about explaining to listeners the truth about the dinar is, sometimes you want to give them a nice detailed answer, but their attention spans are really short. So how do you give an answer, that's informative, but not long-winded? You know what I mean? And I run into that. So, I'll catch myself from time to time going, I should have spent more time explaining that. So I will do these videos where I'm just doing the news or giving my opinion on it, but there are videos that I'll do where I'll go through and explain to people, okay, let's go down the path here and look at other things you need to be aware of. It's not appreciated. Trust me, it's not. So a good chunk of them do appreciate it, and some people have learned a lot. But for the most part, the general population lives, they live the hopium. They're really high off the hopium. And you would think after 15 years of being tortured by these guys of it's going to happen tomorrow, it's going to happen tomorrow, they would have learned a lesson. But nope, they're gluttons. They are gluttons. So if anybody tells them otherwise, no, they don't want to hear it.
Yeah, and I'll just say, anyone watching this, if you're here and you're, from the fundamentals of finance opinion and what I would say professional take is that, the RV getting rich overnight on the dinar, it's not going to happen. If you haven't heard me say that again, or you haven't heard me say that in the past, let me say it again. It's not going to happen. I know Pimpy, and I'm not going to name names today. You know who they are, but there are YouTubers out there that are promoting that message to you time and time again. It's not going to happen. So if maybe you did make a huge investment, and I would just say, acknowledge it. Acknowledge you made a mistake. Acknowledge you got scammed, and let's try to move on. And then maybe you're also in a boat of thinking about making that investment. And I'm telling you, we've seen it now for 15 years, like Pimpy said. So, yeah, I do want that. If you don't take anything else away from this video today, I want you to know that. But I know, Pimpy, you're kind of more, you said to us on one of your videos about fundamentals of finance, you said that, could it go up? And so would you say you're generally bullish over the next 10 to 20 years on the Iraqi dinar?
Look, I don't think it's going to be like, a huge jump in value like the 322 rate or anything else like that overnight. I've never preached that. I told people, look, it's more likely to go up in increment as Iraq gets their crap together and they appear to be well on their way and taking steps necessary to get out of these sanctions. I think you're going to start to, as it gets stronger and they get away from the dollar, little by little, you're going to see it go up in increments. Now, is it anything you'll be able to retire on tomorrow? No, not right away. But I do think over time, you're going to see it start to increase and strengthen, see the exchange rate change. That was just my opinion on it.
Got it. And Pimpy, would you say that if someone was to, so, okay, let's just say you think it's a good investment. What do you think is the actual best way to go about actually buying it?
Oh, see, now for me, when I was told, I was curious about where to buy it at. People gave me all kinds of websites. I went to Exchange of America, and that's where I bought mine. And so, I said, look, I have some discretionary funds, and I always tell people, look, don't start mortgaging off your house like some people did and buying a boatload of Iraqi dinar. If you have discretionary funds and it's something you're interested in, then grab some, but if you're thinking this is going to happen overnight, it's you're being misled. Okay. So just know it's going to take some time and not going to happen overnight. And don't use your kids' lunch money or anything like that. Just if you got discretionary funds, then grab some and just throw it in your in your sock drawer or whatever. And when it happens, you'll know because everybody and their mama will be talking about it. So, but yeah, I wouldn't be hawking my house, and it's unfortunate that people did that. And I've talked to a couple of people off the ledge. I have to be honest. These people get really depressed because they get lied to over and over. That's when I started speaking out against other content creators by what they're saying is, we know for sure one person committed suicide because they got depressed and they're waiting and they needed the money really bad and it wasn't happening like everybody said. So they committed suicide. But, I myself have spoken to a couple of people personally and walked them off the edge because they're like, Pimpy, every day they tell us, oh, they're just depressed. They got bills. They got healthcare issues. You know what I mean? They need the money. And I understand that. But that's why I don't go on there and mislead people, because when you do that, you don't know what another person is going through that's hearing you. And the last thing I want to be responsible for somebody killing themselves because of something I said. So, I decided to speak up then as soon as I found that.
Yeah.
And that's why these I'm going to call them scammers. They're not innocent. Even the ones that just read the news or, and imply that it's about to happen. This is not innocent because they're still roping people in, even if they're not the ones who are physically selling the currency themselves, even if they're not promoting other additional scams on top of on their channel, which some of them are doing both of those things. It's still, you're still looping people in with a false promise, and then they just go get scammed somewhere else. And so for an alternative,
well, there has to be, in my opinion, there has to be some accountability. If you know for sure that a content creator has caused the death of somebody else, I mean, I think there's some liability there because people are, listening to everything you say. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that really believe what they're saying. You know what I mean? They don't use discernment or they're not using common sense. And, every day they get told the same thing. Tomorrow's the day. Tomorrow's the day. If a person kills themselves over this, then there should be some accountability there because the person killed himself because of something you said. And I don't think they should get away. You know what I mean? Get away with what they're saying and somebody killed themselves over it. I don't think that's right.
What about kind of a gray area here? What about the other YouTubers that actually believe, like the ones that, let's just say, report the news and they actually believe themselves it's going to happen? So they may not be necessarily trying to sell you and get a fee or anything, but they actually believe it themselves. I mean, where's that line where it's like, and then we get into, do they actually believe it or do they know it's a scam, or I don't know.
Well, I think it has to do with intent. If you know you are purposely misleading people, that's the difference between somebody who actually believes and they're not misleading. They're just regurgitating the news and, giving their opinion on it. And if they believe it's going to happen tomorrow for whatever reason, I think that's a little bit different than somebody that absolutely knows they are lying to the people and they just continue to do it over and over and over, which is a little bit different. That's just my opinion on that.
Well,
Yeah.
this goes back to as a watcher or listener or follower or subscriber, whatever you want to call it. Who are you taking your investment advice from? Or even if no one on YouTube is going to say they're giving advice. Who are you getting your investment insight from? The person who's been consistently wrong every freaking day for years and years and years and years.
Yeah.
You're going to listen to that person? Or are you
Obviously.
going to listen to the person who, I mean, this is why we put out our track record videos, because you can go, oh, this credential, that credential, this many followers, that many followers. We've shown, okay, here's what we said on this day, and here's what happened. And you build up a long enough period of that, it's like, it should speak for itself, in my opinion. And not that we're going to be right on everything that we say. No investor is. But we've been right a lot more than we've been wrong. And these dinar people have been wrong 100% of the time. 100% of the time, you're always.
Whoa!
How
They're
hard it is to be that wrong? As an investor, that's like.
I'm not wrong. If I make a mistake, I will come on and tell people, look, I made a mistake on something and make a correction, which is more, like I say, for a lot of other people in our community, man. For whatever reason, they just, they can't be wrong, or else somehow that discredits them. I said, geez, if you're wrong and you tell the truth about it, to me, that's respectful and a lot more credible than just continuing with the lie. That's just my opinion.
Sure. Yeah. So, Ali, to your question, will 25,000 dinar bill ever be worth 87,500? No. And as an investor who I'm telling you everything is uncertain, this is 100% certain. It will never, ever, ever, ever revalue, because that is 100% physically impossible for that to happen. It will not happen. It will not happen. We can debate whether it will go up over the course of time. I am a believer that it will go down over the course of time, actually. And I can get into why if people are interested.
I'd love to hear that. Yeah, I think the viewers too would like to hear your take on that.
So currencies are driven by supply and demand, and all these positive things that they're touting. If you think countrywide, think about whatever country you live in, whoever's listening. Think about countrywide. Can you find a lot of different news stories painting a lot of different pictures? Of course you can, right? And so if somebody is cherry picking news and twisting it to say, oh, this is going to happen, of course you can find positive sounding news stories, but what these gurus can't do is say why this is going to cause the Iraqi dinar to go up. They can say something that sounds positive. Oh, all these, they're open for investment. Oh, they said they're going to make reforms. Every government in the country, or every government in the world, all the time says they're going to make reforms. Do they do it? In reality, I think the Iraqi economy has been in recession like 6 out of the last 10 years or something like that. It's smaller than it was 10 years ago. Do you know how crappy your country has to be doing to be smaller than it was 10 years ago? It's insane. And it's all driven by oil and their recent budget, which somehow people presented as a positive. And then they quote, they're like, oh, did you read the World Bank and IMF? Yes, I did. So that shouldn't give you more confidence. It should give you less confidence, because they're like, to balance their budget, this is why I think the currency will go down. To balance their budget, they need oil to be at a price of it's like $95 or $97 a barrel
95
over the next 3 years. Okay, if they don't get that, that means that they don't have as many enough dollars to spend to pay for all of this magical infrastructure and all this stuff, all these plans, right? And also, when they get dollars, they hold them in reserves and they use them to buy things. But they also use them to maintain the peg. This is what's really important. In order to maintain, so there's always supply and demand for your currency, and it's usually not perfectly in equilibrium. So when you're trying to maintain a peg, if there's too much demand for the dinar and it's going up, then they need to sell dinar-based assets and buy dollars. So to prop up the dollar, bring down the dinar to where they're trying to keep it at, 1310 or whatever. If there's not enough demand for the dinar, then and it's being pushed down by the market, then they need to buy dinars and sell dollars. Well, in order to do that, you have to have dollars in reserves. And if they're overspending and oil is not high enough, so they're not getting enough revenue to pay for all their stuff, their dollar reserves will dwindle, 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 dwindle until they don't have enough to maintain the currency peg where it is. And a telltale sign, this is not just Iraq, this is like any emerging market country that tries to maintain a peg. I've seen this dozens of times. Any country, like a precursor sign that this is going to happen sometime in the next few years is when the black market rate is weaker than the official rate, because that's telling you that market pressure, market forces are already weakening, and they're having to prop up the currency to maintain the official rate. So that already tells you that they're having to spend down their dollar reserves to maintain the official rate. And we know that they're having to spend down their dollar reserves. Add on to that their dollar reserves are dwindling because they have an unsustainable budget and oil prices are not high enough, so they're not getting enough dollars. It's not like they have a giant tourist industry that's going to blow up and have a bunch of Americans coming to visit. I think it's like level 4 danger level, which is like the highest level here. I don't know how much stock you put into those, but if it's that high, you probably don't want to go there. I don't know anybody who's went to Iraq on vacation. So I think,
it's someplace I'd like to visit sometime in my life, but what you're saying scares the crap out of me, and why I won't go. But the things you're bringing up are things I've actually brought up in videos. I say the fact that they rely so much on oil sales for their budget is not a stable economy. That's, you can't have a stable currency. If anything should happen to the oil price and it drops, then they're all the way back to square one. We're in 2020, they damn near went bankrupt and had to devalue their currency. Now, as far as their reserve currencies they are higher than they've ever been. They went from 90 to 100 to 115, so they keep climbing. That's a good thing. But yeah, the oil prices, they're too reliant on oil. They need other non-oil revenue to start coming in, and they appear to be heading down that road now. We have the Port of Fa it should be complete in a couple of years, and then you have the one road that should open up the economy and help out Iraq a whole lot. The fact they don't use the U.S. dollar no more, except for contracts that say they have to use the dollar, or at least in oil sales. And Kyle, you brought up something I said already. I go, that's fine, but what they need to do is stop using the U.S. dollar and start using the Iraqi dinar. Is that going to happen? I don't know, but everybody in that region seems to be jumping on the de-dollarization. Will they go as far as to stop using it for oil? Saudi Arabia is making their move. You don't know, but if they start selling the oil in dinars, then that's a pretty good step in the right direction. See, for me, when I talk about some of these positive things, these are baby steps at time. You know what I mean? There's a much bigger picture than this, and I try to explain as much as possible in videos that, well, this is what this means. This is the next step, and so on and so forth. I don't go, hey, tomorrow's the day again for the 3,407 times.
Yeah, I hear you. Ethan, do you want to talk on the oil and the dinar, or did you have something to say?
Yeah,
let me ask you. Here's my question to you. So if they do start selling oil and they start using Iraqi dinar, just throwing it out there as a scenario, what kind of effect, in your opinion, is that going to have on the dinar?
Well, let me answer this 2 ways. One, it would be positive for the dinar if it happened. 2, it will never, ever happen. Maybe 50 years from now, like Iraq's economy transforms, it could happen. The United States implodes for any number, whatever, like nuclear war.
We're heading down that path. So,
but here's why, outside of some kind of like zombie apocalypse level scenario, it isn't going to happen, because you don't go buy oil like at the oil store. Like, you don't just walk down the street, walk in the door, and be like, I'd like 1 million barrels of oil, please. Like, and then you walk out of there with them and load them in your truck. Like, that's not how you buy oil. You buy oil on the futures market, and you want to lock in a price, because governments, companies, whoever's buying oil, they don't want to the oil price moves around like crazy. Like, and so if they want to plan for their budget in the future, they don't want to be subject to these wild ass moves that oil can have. Like, they don't want to, if oil's $70 and they need it 6 months from now, they don't want to end up having to pay $100 a barrel if it goes up a lot. And so you buy oil on the futures market, not like walking into a store, right? So the only futures market, well, there's 2 futures markets for oil. There's one that's based in dollars, and then there's one that's based in yuan, which no one uses. Like, I don't know, it's been around like at least 5 years, I think. And they've really tried, and maybe now some countries are you buy, when you're transacting with China, like maybe you can do a little bit in those contracts, but outside of transacting directly with China on a limited basis, other than that, like the futures market is in dollars. And the only way that you could transact, like the countries could start buying oil in Iraqi dinars, is if they created another futures market based in Iraqi dinars, and then every other country had enough faith in the Iraqi dinar to then hold that currency for an extended period of time. And because obviously you have to hold it in reserves if you're going to eventually buy it in the future, right? Like,
Right.
the futures contract is for the future. So you have to hold. So you'd have to have another futures market created, and then you'd have to have other countries and companies all feel confident enough in the dinar. And there's a lot of things that have to happen before you could get to that point.
Well, you need a stable government, a stable country, a stable currency, a stable economy. I mean, these are things that they're working on, but it's not there. If you're that reliant on oil to bring revenue in to fund your budget, that's not a good sign. 95%, I think, is how much of the budget that oil pays for. That's way out of whack. So they are working on non-oil forms of revenue, but they're just not there yet. So yeah, it's gonna take some time.
The UAE has done a great job of diversifying their economy. Saudi Arabia is now under MBS really making a push to do that. But this is something that takes like decades. And even if it's successful, which it hasn't been successful for any other current country in the Middle East, only those two, or really only the UAE and Saudi Arabia is like actually making legitimate progress. So it's unlikely that it will be successful. If it is successful, it'll be very, very, very gradual over the course of 20 years. And you may not have any currency appreciation over the course of that time, maybe a little, but you may not. I mean, Saudi Arabia still has their currency pegged to the dollar. I don't know if they've changed the rate. I don't think they really have. Like, certainly nobody's gotten rich off of it over the last 20 years, or the UAE dinar, whatever it's called. So I just, and then you go to the fact that, okay, so any investment that you make, you have to consider all the fees, right? You can't just look at the investment return and not factor in fees or trading costs or anything like that. And because it isn't a widely traded currency, and you have to go to a currency exchange to buy it, and those currency exchanges charge incredibly exorbitant fees. This is really the crux of the scam. I think someone asked a question on the video you posted earlier. Is like, how is the dinar a scam? The dinar currency isn't a scam. It's just a currency. The idea that you will get magically rich overnight and therefore should buy it, and in order to buy it, it costs you 20-ish% of your investment, and then another 20-ish% of your investment to sell it. That is the crux of the scam, because it's sold to you on a lie, and you automatically lose like 40% of your investment the minute you buy in. And it's by the way, what are the odds it's going to go up? We can debate. Oh, their economy, this, literally, you have to make like 50% in order just to break even. Like,
Hey, I got a question for you. They're talking about going. Here's my concern. Iraq wants to be paperless, and by the time April gets around here, is it right? April, June, 6 months in, they want to be 100% paperless. So my concern is, well, and what happens to dinar investors that are holding the currency if they go 100% cashless on this electronic platform? What does that mean for people who's actually holding onto the currency? That's a concern that I have. So that's something I'm definitely watching, because that could just screw the pooch right there. Screw everybody over. It depends on what they plan to do with dinar holders.
Yeah, that I don't know. That I don't know. I mean,
So I got a question for you. Everybody appears now. I think it's not going to happen, but appears to be pushing for BRICS to create a new currency, and they're talking about creating a gold-backed currency alternative to the U.S. dollar. But my thing is, nobody trusts China, to lead this thing, and then you also got Russia there. I'm wondering how. Look, a lot of people are pissed off at the United States, and with good reason. But the trust factor with both China and Russia, I think, is going to be, the saving grace for the United States. But what is your opinion on this?
Yeah, Kyle, you want to chime in?
Yeah. And I see that Cody in the chat just asked this question, and it came in at a time right when Pimpy started talking about BRICS. So we'll address that. And everyone else that has asked questions in the chat, we will address those as well shortly here. But yeah, so Pimpy, I want to ask you, so do you actually, I don't know if you're talking about BRICS because you actually believe a BRICS currency might happen, or the viewers do, or I guess where would you stand on that? Do you actually think it's
I think it's possible, but I can't see it being successful just because of the people that's behind it. That's just my opinion. When we're dealing with Russia, and we all know how they are, they never kept any commitment that they ever got into. And the fact that they just steal from other countries is a big no-no. And then you got the situation with Russia as well. So you got two powerhouses that are involved in this, this push to have a separate currency. And I don't think people are going to trust them enough to allow them to lead such a movement.
Yeah, and to everyone watching and to Pimpy, like I could sit here and rant about BRICS so long because I have made, I don't know, 20 plus, maybe 30 plus videos on BRICS. But yeah, and to your point, Pimpy, I mean, they don't have a free trade agreement. I mean, China and India hate each other. They have a border dispute themselves. Yeah, so it's like the biggest joke, but it gets views. The media pushes that narrative because, people reading those articles, when they see BRICS, how many billions of people is that? I said it in my video, I forget now, but that's billions of people that are like, oh, BRICS, that's me. I live in India. I live in China. I live in Brazil. Like, so yeah, it's an easy media attention grab, but the reality, and the funny thing is, I made a video on this back like in August or September, whenever the BRICS had their summit, which I said in the video, like, what are they doing? They're not, first of all, they just get together. They don't really do anything. And then number two, if you look at if you actually Google, like, is BRICS really thinking about, if you just Google this, is BRICS thinking about a currency? And I said this in my videos, you can see like the prime minister from one of the countries, I forget all the names and the titles now, but high ranking officials are like, yeah, we're not even trying to create a currency. We that's not even on the table right now. And they're just straight up saying it.
That article.
yeah. But yeah, you get on TikTok, you get on Twitter, you get on whatever platform, and you're like, oh my gosh, BRICS is taking over, And we did a lot of takedown videos. And everyone watching, we don't just take down dinar scammers. We take down BRICS believers. We've taken down life insurance salesmen that are pushing in a sleazy way. We've taken down, so-called mutual fund ETF experts. But things didn't really start getting traction until we started calling out the dinar community for whatever reason. And Pimpy's helped. He's done a lot of videos talking about me and stuff, or the channel, and so that's my short take.
Well, my whole thing about the BRICS is this: the idea of going to a gold back, but not a gold exchange, but a gold back currency. Something to back our dollars. We don't have that. All we have for our fiat dollars is the great promise of our faithful government, and our government's not that trustworthy, and they've been willy-nilly with printing out money. And so, anything to restrain the spending habits of our government, as well as reduce the power that they have, because they keep developing new departments, and they need an excuse to have even more money. So I think what I loved about the idea of a gold back or a gold standard was to rein in the out of control spending, as well as reduce the overreach and power of our government.
Yeah, I think that's a common thing, that people like the idea of it, but it doesn't actually make. So let me go back to something you just said. Reduce their power. Maybe people want the government to have reduced power, but what government do you know that wants to reduce their own power? Right? Like, so.
But isn't that what a gold-backed dollar does? It, by limiting the amount of money they can spend, just by its nature alone, it reduces out of control spending, and you can't have all these departments popping up everywhere, and the government will shrink. What do you think?
Well, I think that what it would do is crash the economy, the global economy, not just the U.S. economy.
Yeah.
It does. Okay, so
go globalization.
So coming off of the gold standard is largely seen as the reason that we got out of the Great Depression, because they finally came out of it, because they didn't have the flexibility to support the economy when it was really in need. And then 2008 would have caused another Great Depression. And 2020 would have caused another Great Depression. And I think we most people are just not, they don't realize that, or they don't realize how lucky they are that we're not on the gold standard anymore. And no one country, I mean, any one country could back their currency by gold if they wanted to, but the only thing that that would do is limit their flexibility to manage monetary policy. And so in the event of a crisis, they would not be able to respond. It's similar in a way to linking your, like pegging your currency to another currency, except that at least then, you don't have total control of your own monetary policy, but your monetary policy is based on whatever the country you're linked is doing. So like, if the US lowers rates and you link your current, you peg your currency to dollar, then you basically need to lower rates in order to keep your peg stable. And so sometimes that causes problems because the US might be raising interest rates because we've got an inflation problem, and another country doesn't have an inflation problem. They need to boost their economy, but they have to be raising rates, which is not, they're doing the opposite. It constrains their economy. So sometimes it doesn't work out, but sometimes it does because, like in COVID, everybody needed to support their economy and the US was lowering rates, and therefore so was everybody else that was linked there. So it's not always bad. With gold, it would always be, you would never be able to manage your monetary policy. And any country that decided to do that would only be giving up their own flexibility to support their economy in a crisis.
You don't think there's an exception for emergencies?
You can't make an exception for, so, think about the reason we went off the gold standard in like the 1960s, right? So we were trying to pay for the Vietnam War, and we needed to spend a lot of money to support the war effort. And then, we printed money, and then the value of the dollar weakened compared to gold. And so we couldn't just like make a bunch of gold. I mean, this is kind of what people want, but ultimately, like, it caused significant problems. And this is why it couldn't work. So if a government does spend irresponsibly, eventually the currency will weaken to reflect that. Even the US dollar, though we're a little bit more insulated.
We have been spending irresponsibly now for decades, and we still have a very strong currency,
Yeah, and that should be a lesson that.
What do they call that? We're outsourcing. Isn't that what it is?
That should be a lesson to you. Like same thing with the dinar. When people are predicting the same thing over and over again for 15 years and it continues to be wrong, people have been saying, that ever since 2008, oh my God, all this spending, it's going to cause hyperinflation and the dollar is going to crash. People have been saying that every year since 2008, and it's been almost 20 years.
You don't think that if these countries do de-dollarize, those dollars don't start coming back to us, and then we're going to run into that situation?
You can't do that. Somebody in our comments said only Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. are accepting dollars now, and I was like, there's like 16 countries that use the dollar as their main currency, and Canada and Mexico aren't on that list.
No, there's more than just those two countries,
So I think we need to differentiate between would like to, over the course of time, slightly reduce our dependence on the dollar versus we don't ever want to touch dollars ever again. Those are really, really different things, right? Like, that's like saying, it's a difference between I think I'm going to try to cut down on my sugar intake versus I'm going to starve myself. Like, this is different things.
So here's my question to you. Why do you suppose so many reserve banks, everybody's reserve, why are they buying so much gold? And they're buying it at record levels every year. More and more of these banks are, they're buying gold at neck break speed, man. Why do you suppose that is? My thought was they were talking about possibly going to a gold backed currency. Is that just a misreading of it because they're buying so much gold?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
And you think it's for the purpose of revaluing the gold? Do you think they're going to revalue it?
Well,
all the debt these countries have.
I mean, about all else equal, demand, more demand for gold from wherever it comes from, central banks or anybody else, does boost the value of gold, which is why it's around its all-time high right now. Although it's kind of been flat over the last couple of years.
Yeah, but still manipulated like it's been for umpteen years. Silver and gold.
Well, I mean, gold producers are like they're not really ramping up production, like they're So in theory, all this extra massive demand, and we haven't had gold producers producing very much, and you really haven't seen the pricing. So I think there's probably a little bit more hype than reality to this. But I think, and this is just my my take. I can't, I guess, speak. I haven't like spoken to the central bankers of like to ask their motivation, but we have. I think it's very linked to why the Iraq banned the dollar within Iraq, and we did a video about this, I don't know, 6 months ago maybe, where we talked about the dollar shortage in a lot of emerging markets. So one of the ways you get dollars is to borrow dollars, right? To take out a loan. And when U.S. interest rates rise, it becomes more expensive to get dollars, not just for anybody, not just for like, a U.S. mortgage holder, but also for a foreign government that wants to, take out, borrow money in dollars. And so because it got so expensive to get dollars when the U.S. raised rates, there was a dollar shortage around the world. I think that's why Iraq banned the dollar in the country, because they want everybody to say, oh crap, I can't use dollars anymore. Well, let me go turn them into the state-owned bank and get dinars. And then the state-owned bank then has these dollars that they desperately need, right, to maintain their currency peg. Well, I think that a lot of these central banks are, it's become more expensive to get dollars and hold them in their reserves. And so they've instead decided, well, let's just buy gold and hold that in reserves. Like you can use gold for a lot of things. And so I think that's really the reason why they've ramped up their purchasing. That's my take.
All right, let me interject for a second. I do want to get to the chat box and also to the comments on Pimpy's video from yesterday, basically had questions for us. So yeah, let me, if that's cool with y'all, I'm gonna move to the chat box. And one of the first questions I really want to address is from I think, yeah, it's basically the first one in the queue as well, is from Custom Fabricator. And he said, why would you listen to someone who's not a licensed financial advisor? And so I don't know if that's directed I don't know if that's directed directly at me or just a general, question for the group. But I will tell you, I worked in the industry, and I do believe that.
Wait, before you answer, just let me say something super quick. These are the kind of comments you get. You know what I mean? Even if you didn't have it, does it make a difference? Doesn't change your knowledge. You know what I mean? You still have the knowledge, whether you do or don't have the license. I don't have a license, and I still give my opinion out there. I just think when people make those kind of comments, it's just ridiculous, So my apologies, but I had to get that out. Those kinds of comments hold no water, in my opinion. But
well, and Kyle was a licensed financial advisor, and I am a licensed financial advisor. And let me tell you, those licenses don't teach you very much. There are a lot of financial advisors out there who are really not.
Yeah.
Like,
and go ahead.
I mean, yeah. Let's just say, like, just like you shouldn't necessarily trust someone. Let me just say, you shouldn't trust someone just because they have their licenses. Like, there's a lot of things that you need to learn about how investing really works. That licenses teach you, like, don't screw people out of their money, and like, protect people's private information.
And how well does that go?
Here's what a mutual fund is, and here's what an ETF is. Like that, and here are like these laws that you should know. Like, it does not teach you like, here's how to be a successful investor. It's nowhere in there.
Yeah, I just wanted to interject. Go ahead, Kyle.
No, and I mean, I keep hitting this cord over here. You guys, kind of already summed it up. But to Custom Fabricator, I would say, for me personally, my take is it goes to the saying of, people don't really care how much you know. They care how much you care. And I believe I'm a fast learner. I speak 4 languages. I think I can learn fast, and anything that I don't know because I'm not licensed anymore. I mean, on my team is Ethan here, who is a CFA charter holder, which is Chartered Financial Analyst. It's the highest, basically, investment designation you can have in the world. Very hard to get. Look at CFA level pass rates in 2023. It's very hard to get. And so, and to go a level deeper, I'm from a blue collar family. My dad is a contractor, so I grew up like I was doing a roof, like I was re-roofing a metal roof one time, and I'm like, there's got to be a better way to make a living. Like I'm dying in the sun. I could fall off the roof. Like it's metal. I could die from touching this thing. So I was like, there's got to be. I was like, I want to go into banking. I want to learn the financial stuff. And I always liked it from a kid. I would read Investopedia as a kid. So I have a passion to bring, what I would call professional level investing knowledge to the everyday American, because I see it in my family. I was that person. I'll tell you a story. One time my first bank job, I was a bank teller at 18. But there was a financial advisor in my branch, and I remember I had like, you know, $2,500 from like a 401k or something from like moving banks. And I asked this financial advisor, I'm like, can you help me, you know, roll this over? This will help you out, right? Like, I thought I was doing him a favor, like giving him like $2,500 to manage or whatever. And I remember he's like, oh yeah, he was like, everything helps me out, Kyle. And he never like followed up with me. Like, he worked in the same branch as me, but like I'd always kind of be like, hey, Mr. I'm not gonna say his name, but hey, Mr. Financial Advisor, can we? And anyway, he never, you know, actually helped me out, because it wasn't worth his time to mess with my whatever $2,500.
That's what your $2,500 earned you.
Well, yeah, exactly. And so I'm like, yeah. And so I'm thinking now in 2024, January 2024, how many other people are out there that are teachers, firefighters, contractors, whatever, and they're like, hey, I got 10,000 here. Hey, I got 100,000 here, whatever it may be, you know. And then they get down, then they start watching scammer YouTube channels, and then before you know it, poof, that money's gone, and they might have you know, something really bad happen. So that's my personal take, and Ethan kind of has a similar, somewhat of a similar background and story as well. So that would be my answer to custom fabricator.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, for me, I'll be brief, but because I want to keep it on like investment topics that people will learn from. But yeah, I mean, for me, so when I was 30, I learned that I had a trust account for my sister and I, for when my great grandma passed away when I was like 1 year old or something like that, and it only had a few $1,000s in it, split between us. And I found out that my mom had told the financial advisor, I don't want to take any risk with this. And so it had basically been invested in like a savings account for like 30 years. And it could have been worth, you know, 50 times as much. You know, it could have been actually like really life-altering money. And not if any more had been put in, just if it had been invested in the market, if my mom had a really basic understanding of like, you know, the stock market goes up over the course of time, it can't go to zero. Like, you know, and over a 30-year period, it's much more risky to not invest in the stock market, you know, to not have enough volatility or like upside potential. It's actually way more risky that you will not have enough money when you retire or when you reach whatever your long-term goal is. You're not gonna get there. So that the risk is failing in whatever you're trying to get. If
you're talking about something people probably can't even relate to right now. Most people probably can't even remember ever getting money back in their savings account. Do they still do that? I mean, that's sad to ask, but
it's like 0.01%.
no, it's like showing a kid a CD player, and they're like, "What the hell is this?" I'm like, "That's terrible, man. The CDs weren't that long ago, and already you don't know what this is." But yeah, I remember getting some monies back in my savings account, but then all of a sudden, I don't ever remember getting money back after a while. Besides, I don't keep it in there long enough. I actually convert all my stuff into precious metals because I don't trust the banks at all. I keep enough money in there to pay my bills, but everything is in precious metals.
That's an interesting strategy.
Yeah, I think we can get into that another day, Pimpy, maybe for the next live. So, and also, Pimpy, I want to again address some of these comments or questions from the viewers. This one's kind of funny, everybody. This person goes by the money 8954, and this person says he is a bot. He is not real at all. Talking about me. So to this person, I am real, and this person's been on my channel as well, saying, "Don't listen to him. He's a bot. He's a bot. He's a bot." It's like, you know, I think I responded with, "I'm like, you're a bot. All you ever say is I'm a bot." It's like, here I am. I'm not a bot. So,
I gotta say, AI technology is getting really good. Kyle looks so real.
I know. No, it's kind of scary, man. I don't know if you've seen some of these videos that they do these deep fakes, man. It's really scary crap that's out there.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's go to another question. Let's see. Oh, and another one this is on your video asking me, Pimpy, everyone, and this is one of the most common comments. So let me just say it right now. I do not own dinar. I think 2 or 3 people commented on that on your video, Pimpy. I do not own dinar. I do not think it is a good investment. I do not own dinar. I don't know why people think I own dinar. If you're watching this, please tell me, why do you think I own dinar? Please explain. It makes no sense.
I heard you say that in a video one time, and I was like, what the hell did he say that he owns dinar? That's interesting. So I was like, do you?
For the record, neither do I. Yeah, if it needs to be said.
What kind of financial advisors are you guys? Good Lord.
We've
Yeah.
had this comment, like, no joke, like at least 20 times. Like, people are like, you probably own dinar. I bet you own dinar. Like, what have I said that would make you say that?
No, it's crazy. They go, well, Donald Trump owns dinar. What?
Oh yeah.
Obama owns
Yeah.
dinar. What? You know, how do you guys know this stuff? You know what I mean? It's some of the stuff they come up with is way out in left field. So, you know, I say, look, my channel is the grounded channel. We don't go around pulling wands out of our butt, sprinkling unicorn pixie dust, trying to make things happen in 2.2 seconds. We're grounded. We don't go around blowing, hoping up people's butt neither. But, you know, you said something to get kind of off to the side here. I was listening to you talk about the housing market in 2023. And my question to you was, you know, I was expecting the housing market to really dip in 2023. But after I thought about why it might have had a semi-successful year was because people wanted to get the hell out of these Democratic states where there were crimes just crazy, and they moved to better states. Do you think that had an impact on the housing market? You know what I mean? People, look how many people left California. Look how many people left New York. People just got the hell out of there because crime is so outrageous and out of control. Do you think that had an impact on the housing market for 2023?
That's an interesting question. I think it had an impact on the local housing markets for sure. Like places like Austin, where, you know, Phoenix, where people were moving in droves, had some of the stronger housing markets. But as far as nationally, I think that the bigger impacts, with two things I would point to. And I think maybe I listed more than, you know, these in the video, but I think two things. Demand fell, and that's all people focused on. But supply also fell because no one wanted to sell their home because they can't move to a similar home unless, or if they do, it's going to be way more expensive. I mean, I personally, I own a
No,
home.
I think 95% of the people out there have an interest rate that's below 3%. So who's going to move? Nobody's going to refi. Nobody's going to get a new loan. The interest rate's too high. So that's why I was surprised that 2023 even had, you know, a semi-good year. And my thought was, well, that's just the people saying, screw this. I don't care what my interest rate is. I'm getting out of this crime-ridden city and moving somewhere safer.
Yeah, I mean, I live in an expensive Democratic state, and I own a home, and it has not lost any value. Maybe it's because it's in a good location. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I think that it's probably, and in 2024 also, I think it will boost. You know, you can. So I could move to Texas or something like that. I could move to a cheaper place, even though interest rates are higher, because I have so much equity in my house.
Yeah.
That, like, where houses are a quarter of the cost, I could just pay cash if I wanted to.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's not a very smart thing to do, but maybe
Why
now.
do you say that? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so
because I'm thinking about doing that. I got a house in California. It's almost paid off. It's over 400,000. I'm thinking about just selling it and going over to Texas of all places.
Yeah, I mean, so here's why. So
I want to Ponderosa.
Mathematically, when you pay off any loan early, you are giving yourself a guaranteed rate of return of whatever that interest rate is that you're foregoing. And so, well, maybe for you, if you don't want to invest in the stock market and you only want to hold gold, then it is smart for you. But if anybody, you know, if interest rates are like 5%, and you're talking about a 30-year mortgage, what are the odds you can earn over 5% return by just putting them in the stock market? They're like pretty close to 100% odds of you being better off. And so, I mean, we did, like, in one of our earlier crappy videos, we did the math here, but, you know, it just essentially works out to, you know, so let's just say you have a $100 loan, and it's at a 5% rate, and it's due in 1 year. So if you have this loan in 1 year, you will owe $105, right? $100 plus the 5-year, or plus 5% interest rate. Okay, so you could pay it off now, and then you would only pay $100 instead of 105. So that's great. But if instead you kept the loan and you have this $100, and you instead invested that $100, and you earned a 10% return, then 1 year from now, you would have $110. You could pay, including the interest, and then you'd have $5 left over. So if you're actually, this is a personal thing, like to everybody listening, if you're going to invest the difference, If you're going to invest the difference, then it makes sense to do that. If you think there's a good chance you can earn a better rate of return over the course of the life of the loan. If you aren't realistically going to do that, everybody knows themselves, like, am I really going to do this? Then you should just pay it off. If the interest rates are close, a guaranteed rate is better than not guaranteed rate, right? So if rates are at 7.5%, what are the, I mean, probably over the course of time, you can earn better than that in the stock market, but like, you know, what are you going to earn, 8.5? Like, you know, uncertain 8.5 versus a certain 7.5, you know, might as well pay it off, in my opinion. The thing with housing, though, is, of course, rates are likely to go down over time, and a few years from now, you can refi. And so you may be paying 6.5%, 7% now, but 3 years from now, for the last 27 years of your mortgage, you could realistically be paying 4%. And then you compare 4% to what you think you could earn in the market, which is, you know, 8+, I would say. Just put it in the market and forget about it. That's better, you know, and over the course of time with compounding interest, you could be hundreds of thousands of dollars better off versus like paying for an entire house, you know, in cash. So that's why.
What is a safe bet, right? The stock market scares the hell out of me. You know, I did a thing called stock watch, and I did really good, but it was easy to do. Once COVID hit, everybody was panicking. I said, no, calm down. This is how the rich get rich. They wait for something like this. When everything seemed to have bottomed out, I said, I built this fictitious portfolio. I said, you know, here's 3 cryptocurrencies that we choose, and here's the other stock. And what we did is I said, let's pretend like we put 10,000 in each one of these, and we'll monitor the progress. So I had an 86% return within 9 months. And then I was like, now's the time, dump, get it out, get rid of it now. So, you know, it's not bad. I mean, cryptos, I really killed it. I mean, on, you know, Ethereum at $10,000 got me a $289,000 return, you know, and 187,000 on Bitcoin. That's because, you know, that's what happens when people panic in the market, it gets hit like that. Instead of, you know, everybody selling, I go, no, that's when you want to add more, man. Cost average, buy now, buy when it's low, because I just chose the industries I knew that would not stay down. I knew they would rebound. So, you know, look good, you know what I mean? And actually a couple of my friends, but they're already rich, so it don't even really matter to them, but they went ahead and actually invested the money, and they were happy about it. But I was like, it must be nice. So, you know, what is a safer bet is stocks make me nervous. Cryptos, I don't trust at all. But does somebody want to put theirs in like a mutual fund? In your opinion, what is the smart direction to go into? Let's say I have $10,000 today and I need to invest it in something. What is a safe investment with a good return in your opinion?
What's your time horizon?
What's that?
What's the time horizon? It's a very important question.
How long? Is that what it is?
Yeah, how long?
Yep.
How long? When do you need the money?
I don't know. Let's just leave it in 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years, I would say the stock market's very safe. I don't remember the exact statistics off the top of my head, but less than 5% of the time the market is down over a 10-year period, historically. You know, if you invested in a stock, not safe. A stock can go to zero. The stock market is collective, all of the companies. So the only way that can go to zero is if all of the companies go bankrupt at the same time. That's like zombie apocalypse.
Isn't it, what is it, like 3 or 5 companies holding up the NASDAQ? I mean, the average, isn't that correct?
For like a year, yeah. Not holding, yeah. Like more than 50% of the return was 7 companies last year. But historically, I'm a believer that is not going to last forever. You hear that in my stock market outlook. So, yeah, I think we're running up on time. But if you have a 10-year time horizon, I think you can feel very safe investing in stocks as long as you don't sell out when it's down. You sell out when it's down, that's how you lose.
Yeah, that's what I tell people. There isn't a loss until you sell it. So just hang tight; it'll rebound.
Yeah, 1-year time horizon, not safe. And I'm personally bearish on the market at the moment.
1-year timeline. I'm at the casino and I do way better anyway. So you know, I'm really good at this. That's that autism in me kicks in, and I start playing on a roulette table. People go, "How do you always win?" I go, I just pick up on patterns. I know it sounds crazy, but you know, there's no real scheme. My numbers, and I see patterns that happen with roulette tables that other people can't see. It doesn't happen all the time, but a good chunk of the time I do pretty good. So with my 10,000, I think I do pretty good at the roulette table.
Yeah. I almost always win in blackjack. It's
Or do you? Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah. I've lost once out of maybe 20 times I've sat down, and it's not an
Nice.
exciting strategy. You're never gonna get rich using my strategy, but it's all math. It's just easy. It's all math. Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
can explain to you guys a strategy on a roulette table that has a 96% win percentage. If you count a draw and even without a loss, if you count that as a win, it's a 96% win.
I count
Really?
making money, but I count. You sit down at the table. What do you walk away with at the end? Is that a win? I don't care if it takes, you know,
Oh yeah,
you don't have to win every single time. Yeah.
it's very, very. I mean, she's probably like 1 or 2 times out of 10, I'll lose whatever allowance I allowed myself to play. But eight of the times I win big. Like one time I won 18,000, another time I won 11. So it just really depends on, like maybe 2 out of every 10 times I won't win.
That's great. You know, if you have a 10 stock portfolio and 8 of them do great and 2 of them do shitty, that's a great investment. You know,
Nice.
that works. You don't win on everything.
hey, I got to give
This is
love
not
to
financial advice.
yeah. I think we should do Vegas strategies on another call. That'd be that. You probably have a better chance of getting rich than compared to the dinar. But I do want to give.
Man, you're killing me.
I want to give a quick shout out to the Q Idiot has entered the chat. The Q Idiot has been a great. I don't even know who this person is, what they look like, or whatever, because they have like a faceless channel, but they have been joining us in our efforts to kind of expose this scam and things like that. So what's up, Q Idiot? Thanks for joining. And we also
I don't know how to pronounce it.
what?
You have to tell us. I said, or is it Kidiot? I don't know.
Oh, maybe. Oh, Steph's here too. What's up, Steph? She has some of the best comments as well.
Steph, sorry the UW coach left.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, Steph always talks football.
Yeah, but congrats on making it to the championship. That was good.
We are on the hour, and actually Google might do some weird stuff and kick us off automatically.
Well, you want to say anything? So if my listeners catch, you guys want to announce anything or let them know anything?
Off the top of my head, no, I don't have any announcements. I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining the call, and Pimpy, thank you for joining as well. And like I said, putting just the truth first, and also just the desire to learn first for yourself and for your viewers.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys having me on. This was a lot of fun. I guess people thought there would be a lot of mudslinging and stuff like that. Like, it's not like that.
Yeah.
That's why I try telling other dinar people. I say, come on my channel. You want to have a talk? This is how it would be. But that's not how they're seeing it. The truth of the matter is they won't come on my channel because they don't have the knowledge necessary to talk about it. And it just looks ridiculous when I'm talking about something and they're totally clueless. So it's just, it is what it is. But thank you, sir. I appreciate you having me on. Ethan, it was a pleasure talking to you as well. I appreciate everything you had to say.
Likewise.
Maybe we could do this again sometime.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, thank you, everybody. If you want more investment chat from me, check out my free Discord link below, and we will see you all in the next video.
Peace.
See you.